Hello everyone, the Godsaw here, and welcome to another episode of Godsaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast. I am currently running over here on youtube.com, and you know what? It is time for some SummerSlam predictions. Usually I like to wait until the last go-home show, which would have been SmackDown, to actually do predictions for these particular pay-per-views, but like they have all the matches for SummerSlam already set up, so you know what? Why bother waiting to go along with it? So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the Street Profits going up against Andrade and Angel Garza for the Raw Tag Team titles. And you know what? I have a lot of people thinking that the Street Profits are just going to win in this particular case. They're just going to continue on and win with what they've been going with so far. And I don't really see that to be the case. I feel like they've gotten a lot of wins over over Andrade and Angel Garza, with especially Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford picking up singles victories over Andrade in the last couple of weeks. Yes, they have done the poisoning storyline and everything to go along with that with Zelina Vega and everything on there, but you know what? I just see it being Garza and Andrade winning those Raw Tag Team titles here and going on forward as champions for a period, some period of time to go along with it. Up next, we have the hair versus hair match. It is Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville. You know, they've played this off. They've played this off pretty well. Like, this storyline, of course, is stemmed off of the whole Otis, Mandy, Dolph Ziggler storyline, and has been running for the last few months as well, and it's leading into the payoff, which is this, well, hair versus hair match, which we have not seen in quite some time to go along with it. Of course, Sonya Deville did do a vicious backstage attack and ended up cutting some of Mandy Rose's hair a while back, which of course has led to her having a shorter hairdo, everything on that particular side. I don't see them going full on bald with Mandy Rose at this point. It would be an interesting aspect of that's where they went, but I see them kind of going in the side of Sonya Deville, getting her head shaved in that sense, and then maybe they can do something with that, and especially if they make her do it in some kind of badass type of way as well, they can make her look even more like a badass to go along with it, and it could actually strengthen Sonya Deville down the line going further. And you know, for the most part through this entire storyline, Sonya Deville has had the upper hand on Mandy Rose. I feel like they're going to give Mandy Rose the victory here, and yes, Sonya Deville is going to end up having her head shaved at that point in time. Up next, we have that United States title match. It is Apollo Crews going up against MVP, and you know what? I actually had a hard time picking this one initially, because if you've noticed over the last few weeks that yes, the Hurt Business with Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP have gotten one up over Apollo Crews, but in some way, shape, or form, Apollo Crews has always gotten one up over MVP, and he's had a couple of pinfalls over MVP, especially gaining back the United States title as well. I still don't think MVP is the person that they're going to go with that U.S. title. I'm going to pick Apollo Crews here for this one, because I don't think his storyline with the Hurt Business is going to be over with going forward, but I see him keeping that U.S. title for just a little bit longer before, you know, eventually either having to face Lashley or Shelton Benjamin. More than likely Lashley, based upon how they have been, you know, building Lashley recently and how he was built going into the WWE title match. I see them continuing on with a strong build towards Lashley and probably him picking up that U.S. title at some point, but I see him picking it up off of Apollo Crews down the line. So I'm picking Apollo Crews to take the victory here. So now we have our Universal title match. Is Braun Strowman going up against The Fiend. This is an interesting one. Now, if we've all seen, and we have all seen this, with how this is played out with The Fiend, is that the person that he goes up against changes in some way, shape, or form. But the interesting factor on this is that Braun has kind of changed before the match. It's usually happened after the match that person ends up changing. So that is where I find it to be kind of the interesting aspect on this one. I'm still going to go with The Fiend winning this match, but what are they going to do with Alexa Bliss in this one? With this one, is Braun Strowman trying to ploy The Fiend, saying that he doesn't care, or he's gone into this full-on monster mode, or has he gone into full-on monster mode? Is technically The Fiend the face in this case? I don't necessarily know. It'll be interesting to see how they play this one out on Sunday, but I'm still going to go with The Fiend actually picking up the victory here and taking the Universal title. Do I really agree with The Fiend being in the Universal title picture? No, but should Braun get one up on every single facet of Bray Wyatt? I don't think so on this one. I think they're gonna have The Fiend go over in this, and it should be interesting to see how it plays off. And it will also be interesting to see if they have Alexa Bliss play any type of role in this match as well. So I'm going to cover both of these matches back to back here. We're going to go into our SmackDown and Raw Women's title matches. I don't think they're going to be back to back on the show, though they could be. I mean, they did do that with Becky Lynch last year when she had both belts. They did them back to back to go along with it. But it is going to be, first up, the SmackDown Women's title match. It's going to be Bayley going up against Asuka. And, this is an interesting one to see where they're going with. I do see an underlying theme with where this storyline has been going. That if you've kind of checked like mannerisms and everything towards Bayley and everything to go along with it, she's kind of playing a little bit less confident as of late. And again, like the roles have been kind of reversed with her and Sasha, where earlier on, Bayley was putting Sasha into precarious situations, then stopped for a couple of months. Now Sasha's doing the reverse role with Bayley on this one as well. We're continuing. I think we're all continuing to wait to see where the turn happens and who will turn on who first. At that point, I have the feeling at this moment in time that they're going to have Sasha turn on Bayley. It's an interesting aspect with what they've been doing because, like I said, they've kind of had Bayley be the full-on heel. Now they're having Sasha really be the full-on heel, and Bayley's a little bit of showing a little bit less confidence in her matches and everything. And she even took a couple of defeats over the last couple of weeks. This is why in this match, I see Bayley going over. I see Bayley going over in this one because, like I said, you've had Asuka beat her already once recently. You had Shayna Baszler tap her out on Raw last week in the tag match. Asuka's riding this wave of momentum and wants probably a little bit more revenge over Bayley than Sasha at this point, because Bayley was the one that took out Kairi Sane to go along with it. And I see Bayley winning this particular match, somehow escaping with the title, which will eventually lead into Sasha Banks going up against Asuka for the Raw Women's title. And, with this storyline and how it's been going, I see Asuka walking away with one of these titles. Banks and Bayley are not walking away with both belts this time. And I see Asuka taking the Raw Women's title versus the SmackDown Women's title. I don't see her getting both belts. That would be an interesting dynamic if they decide to go that route, but I don't see her garnering both belts at that point, because I see whenever they have the split between Sasha and Bayley, they will be fighting over that SmackDown Women's title to go along with it, especially with the factor that Bayley's kind of faced everybody else on SmackDown to begin with. They do need kind of, at least on the babyface side, they need to freshen that up in some way, shape, or form. And the way to do that is to whenever they decide to do the split up, then you have Sasha and Bayley starting to go at it, and it would just be dependent on who will be the babyface and who will be the heel at that point. point in time. Asuka already has some ready-made stuff over on Monday Night Raw as well. Shayna Baszler rooting her on to basically get the title so she can take it off of her. You have Shayna Baszler versus Asuka, which a lot of people are looking forward to. And of course, you always have Nia Jax there as well to go along with that. A couple of ready-made feuds coming up for Asuka with that Raw Women's title. So if you haven't really figured that out, I'm taking Asuka in this one. So this leads us to Dominic Mysterio, and he's going up against Seth Rollins. Now, this has actually been good. Dominic Mysterio is actually showing off to being probably a pretty good wrestler down the line. He's kind of wishy-washy on the promos, but I mean, he's still rather young to begin with. So, you can't be great. Not everybody's going to be great at the promo game right off the bat. But, overall, it is going to be an interesting one to see where, Dominic Mysterio is in his training. And that's what we're going to find out in this particular match, is where he's at. Now, don't get me wrong. They picked a very good guy to carry a particular match with Dominic Mysterio. The story that they've played off of this has been, I think, really well told. Yes, the hokiness of the eye for the eye match with Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins kind of is what it is, but I think overall the arcing storyline of Dominic wanting to get revenge on Seth in any way, shape, or form has been pretty well told. And what they've been doing with everything in that one, to the point of the beatdown of Dominic by both Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins, and then they return the favor the next week with Mysterio and Dominic getting one up with the kendo sticks over on Seth Rollins as well. It's gonna lead me to believe that Seth Rollins is going to pick up the victory in this match. I don't see them really going any other way with it other than Seth Rollins picking up that victory, which again could lead them to that eventual tag match, because one of the things that Rey Mysterio has kind of said, he's wanted to team up with his son at any point in time before he retires. Well, this is a good way of setting that up for down the line when eventually he and Dominic team up to go up against Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy at some point in time. It's going to be an interesting one to see where they're at. Again, I'm going to be more intrigued to see where Dominic is at in his training at this point in time. And it should be a fun watch. I think this is actually going to be a really good match. I think they actually have something here for this one. And this leads us to what I will more than likely believe will be the main event of the night. It is going to be the WWE title match. It is Drew McIntyre going up against Randy Orton, aka I'm going to punt every legend going out there right now. And this feud's actually been good. And it's been prevalent on the aspect of Drew McIntyre but Randy Orton going after legends and trying to get under Drew McIntyre's skin through the entire time. Drew is pretty much to this point not really gotten to Randy Orton, even with Monday Night Raw, where, guess what? Orton finished off that brawl with an RKO. Yes, it looked like that Drew had the upper hand, but who got the last laugh in the end? It was Randy Orton, after he had also RKO'd and punted Shawn Michaels, who, let's be fair, in this particular case, he didn't sell it all that well, but, kind of is what it is. And it actually leads you into, maybe believing that, is Shawn going to play some kind of role in this match to go along with it? He may mention to it in his promo as well. It's like, I don't know where the revenge is going to come, whether it's at the end of Sweet Chin Music or at the end of the Claymore with that one. Now, this kind of leads me to believe we're going to get kind of a SummerSlam 95 situation here, where, yes, HBK is going after Randy Orton. I feel like he's going to interfere in this match, and he's going to cost Drew McIntyre. not on purpose. It's going to be a 95 situation where Shawn Michaels was the guest referee against Bret Hart, or not 95, but 1997's variation where Bret Hart against The Undertaker, Shawn was the referee. And, and Shawn was being taunted by Bret. He took a chair away from him because he was going to use it, and then Bret spit in his face. Shawn uses the chair and accidentally hits the Undertaker, and costing the Undertaker the match. I think we're going to see that again here in this particular one, but it will probably be at the end of Sweet Chin music to go along with it. And I am going to go, and yes, I know that's me trying to like fantasy book the match or anything like that. It's just kind of my thought process. They may go a completely different route with it, but I still think Randy Orton is going to pick up the victory and pick up the WWE title. So should be an interesting show, I think, especially with the factor that they are going to now be using the Amway Center in Orlando versus the Performance Center, and WWE has now come up with what they call the WWE Thunderdome. I'm still shocked that Thunderdome was not trademarked in any way, shape, or form, especially with Mad Max or anything like that. I'm absolutely shocked that that's the case on that one. So it's going to be an interesting show just on the aspect of not only the storylines that are going on, but, this will only be a couple of shows into the quote-unquote Thunderdome experience with fans being there virtually, kind of like how they have at the NBA games. They have the fans there virtually. They're kind of either zoomed in, or they have some kind of special link or something like that. I know WWE has like registrations for it as well. So it should be an interesting look because they're going to be using it not only for SummerSlam, but they're using it for SmackDown and then NXT TakeOver. And then, of course, they're going to be using it for Raw and Raw, SmackDowns in the future, and subsequent pay-per-views as well, at least until live fans are probably allowed back into the arenas, and they can maybe even travel to other arenas that aren't necessarily in Florida or elsewhere to go along with it. So that is everything I got for this one. That is my SummerSlam predictions here. If you like the content that's going to be coming over here, yes, we will be doing reviews over here. Also, I will be doing potential live reactions over on my Twitch page. Again, my link is going to be in the description for my Twitch page for the potential live reactions to SummerSlam and maybe even NXT TakeOver as well to go along with it. Also, if you do like the content that is over here, of course, give a like, a subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content coming down your way. I do expect to do a review for NXT TakeOver and for SummerSlam as well. And with that being said, everybody, take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great rest of your day.